stepping, please. All right, we are live. So if you need to step, could you please step in the center where the mulch is?
Right.
Oh, not there. Yeah, just go right over there. You just flatten it. It's okay. We'll fix it. It's all good. It'll even itself out over time. Anyways.
Actually, I don't even think I need to do that.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Live in the Wellness Garden. We are navigating the new fig tree situation over here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. Hope everyone had a great holiday. Yes, that one down there. Perfect. So we're going to be talking about fruit trees today. Try and cut as close to the main branch as possible, Joe. You might need to come around to the other side for that. But today we're going to be talking about winter fruit tree maintenance. So the two things that we can do in winter for maintaining our deciduous fruit trees is going to be pruning and establishing fruit tree guilds. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So Anelli is here as well. Welcome back, Anelli. And this is Joe. He is one of our Let's Grow Healthy interns, and his schedule did not line up with the time of the live last semester. But it does this semester, so he'll be joining us every week for the live. So welcome, Joe. And yeah, these are our fig trees. So what we're going to be doing is just cleaning them up for the winter. And the objective for deciduous fruit trees is to, for example, remove branches that are pointing in towards the canopy, such as that one. So that one was interfering, is going to interfere with the growth of other branches and the growth of fruit on other branches, and that's not something that we want. So we removed that one right there. We could place them right there for now. But ultimately what we're going to be doing is chopping and dropping these branches underneath the fig trees. So
this one right here?
Yes, that one right there. That one is pointing downwards. We want to remove that one. You can see where it's going. There we go. And with fig trees, you can actually cut them back pretty hard every couple years. You don't necessarily need to be delicate with them as you do with certain other fruit trees. Like citrus, for example. You have to be very careful with citrus trees. You don't want to prune them too much because it could actually end up distorting the shape of their canopy. We have had that experience here with our Meyer lemon tree. But with fig trees, you can actually cut them back very hard, so that's what we're going to be doing. Unfortunately, the shape of this fig tree was a bit unbalanced to start out with. So we're going to need to thin it out a bit. You see that little guy in there, Joe?
This one?
Yeah, that one right there. Yeah. Can you take that? Yeah, we want to take that one that is pointing inwards towards another branch. So we're going to remove that one.
This one too, I'm imagining.
Yes, that one as well. But the rest of that looks good. We can see that this main branch here has a nice shape to it. It's created a nice canopy. So we're going to leave that one. This entire thing, on the other hand, has to come off. We can see how it's pointing outward and it's causing the tree to become unbalanced and kind of lean over. That's why this tree has been leaning over. It's mainly been because this main branch right here leans this way. So I'll take this one off.
Okay. Do you want the loppers or do you want this off?
We are going to use the saw for that. I don't know. Can the loppers handle that?
I mean, they might be able to thin it out first if you want to like thin it out a little bit.
We don't need to thin it out first. Yeah, we don't need to thin it out first. So we'll go for the full saw. I actually need a wrench to undo this. So the wrench should be in with all of the bypass pruners. Do you mind getting that?
Yeah,
so this is the pole saw right here. This is a very useful tool for pruning larger branches on taller trees. We love our pole saw here. It makes pruning really easy. So we have a saw attachment right here. This is just like your typical pruning saw, and once Anelli is able to get the wrench, we can loosen this bolt right here and then move the saw into its upright position so we can make some cuts. And then over here as well, this is another lopper, so we can use this to lop off branches that we can't reach with the hand loppers. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this bolt right here. This is a nice handy dandy adjustable wrench. Just let me know if I'm out of frame.
You're good.
Righty tighty, lefty loosey, always. But yes, any questions that you have for us during the live, please put them in the chat and we will answer them to the best of our abilities. If you have further questions that you would like to submit to us, you can use the Ask a Master Gardener feature on our website. Alright, there we are. So now this is loosened, we just move it so that the pin is in that hole. And be very careful while you're doing this. This is a very dangerous tool if you don't know what you're doing or if you're not being careful. So, and we're going to attach the bolt. I have another pole saw at my house and it has a like a bolt with like twisty, with like little flanges on it that you can twist by hand, which is a lot easier than having to use a wrench. I remember when we first got this, I'm like, oh my god, how do I loosen this? I need a wrench, and I had to have them order this wrench for us just so that we could loosen the pull side. But all right, so now we can cut. And so you have to be very careful when you're cutting large branches. And this is something I admit I'm still getting the hang of. But we're going to want to know where the branch is going to fall. And so we're going to cut it right about here, and it's going to fall this way. So when we make our cut, then it's going to cause it to fall that way. And one thing that you could do for very large branches like this is you could actually make 2 cuts. One in back and one in front. And that'll help the wood, that'll help the branch snap off without causing too much injury to the tree. That's not what we want. So, I just have to get this cable untwisted. There we go. So I'm going to start by making the first cut right here. Nice and slow. We'll explain what's going on underneath the fruit trees after this. And the fig trees up here. So now I'm going to make a cut on the back, just above this one. You can see how difficult this is. I need to turn it closer actually. Be very careful when doing this. You don't want to hit your head. So right in the back right here. Start making another cut. I mean, try and treat this like a handsaw. We don't have a handsaw, unfortunately. So this is kind of difficult. I want to go about an inch above the previous cut. Does someone mind holding the tree right there? So it doesn't. It's very perfect. You do not want to step on the ground.
Yep, I'm trying not to.
It's all good. It'll be fine. Yeah, if you have like a handsaw you can use for this application, that would make it a lot easier. But trying not to injure the tree too much. I might take it down a bit more. I'll just have to get sloppy with this tool. It's not exactly the right tool for making close cuts, but that's okay. This is just for demonstration purposes. I would use a handsaw for sure instead. There we go. There we go. We're going to cut this a bit more. I kind of messed this one up. As I said, I'm still learning. I think we're going to take it down a bit farther then.
Yep, good.
This one.
Watch yourself.
It's totally splitting. Let's get the loppers.
Okay.
There's no harm in taking it down a bit more if you mess up. That's what you should do, in fact. You just take it down a little bit more. And so I think we're just going to try the loppers this time.
Okay.
Fig tree wood is pretty soft, but tried to demonstrate and failed. All right, that's pretty clean. Yeah. That's pretty clean, so that's good. So yeah. Now we have all of this fig tree wood. Do you mind turning the camera over? Now I have all this fig tree wood that we could use as a mulch and that we could use to make cuttings. So we're actually going to be taking a couple fig cuttings today too, and I'll show you guys how to do that. But first, before we do that, we need to take care of the Jujube tree and explain this whole situation right here. I do want to take off that one too, and we also need to take off that one. So, yeah, do you mind grabbing this and moving it aside? Yep. So we're going to go right here. You can move the camera right here. We want there to be lateral growth right here and not right there. It's curving inwards and it's making the tree unbalanced. So we're going to take this and there we are. See, loppers are great. They make a nice clean cut. So there's that.
I'll get that for you.
Oh, thank you. Yep. And a lot of these larger branches we're going to try chipping up. I'll bring my wood chipper again. So, and just some of the other like smaller ones we'll take right here and here. And take a couple in here. And see, this is when the pole saw will start to come in handy, is when you can't reach as well. Take those. Not exactly. There we go. And I think we'll call it on this tree.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty good cut. So yeah, we can also take this one. But this is pointing inwards. You don't want that. Yeah, we want to maintain a canopy that grows up and out. That's the objective of pruning deciduous fruit trees and fruit trees in general. You want to maintain a canopy that grows up and out, and this is going to pretty much allow for the healthiest tree that produces the most fruits. So what we can also do in certain situations is top the tree. That is shorten the larger branches so that we induce more branching. Because every time you make pruning cuts like this, when you cut off a main branch, it's called a heading cut, it's going to induce all of the shoots below it to start budding out and producing leaves and producing new shoots. So that will cause the whole branch to sort of like fan out, if you will. And we may choose to do that on a couple of these as well. That is something we could do, and I'll demonstrate some thinning cuts. So for the most part, what we've done so far is thinning cuts. So an example of a thinning cut would be taking off an entire side shoot. So we'll again do this one. So that's a thinning cut right there. Taking off an entire side shoot. And then a heading cut would be, we're going to head it off at the same height right there to induce branching along the entire stem. And I think we can do one more heading cut over here to allow this one to branch out a bit more. So I'm going to come in here so that we don't injure the little babies that we got coming up here. And so I'm going to take this one. They're about the same height. Cut it off. And that's it. Now these ones as well, I'm seeing this now, because when you look at the tree from different angles, you start to see different things. So I can see now that this one might be a problem. So what we're going to do then is we're going to take this one and cut it. Like I said, do another heading cut. And that's going to encourage side shoots to come up along there, and we'll get more branching there. And this is something that we might need to address next year. I might decide to take this one off entirely. I'm not sure yet. I have not decided. So I might come in and prune again. There's still time. Generally, for pruning deciduous fruit trees, that is something that you do January and February. And deciduous just means trees that go dormant during the wintertime. They lose their leaves. All right. So that's it for our fig trees. For the most part, they look pretty good. I'm going to grab the camera and we're going to explain what's going on here. So I'm going to adjust the tripod a bit. There we go. So let's have a look, shall we? So as we can see here, one thing that we have done this winter is we have constructed berms around the fig tree, roughly out to the drip line. And the drip line of the tree is pretty much the furthest extent of the branches horizontally. That's your drip line. And that's pretty much, within the drip line is where most of the root system of the tree is going to be located. So if we construct this berm along the drip line, then what that enables us to do is create a watering well where we can flood the entire inside area with water, and then that water will soak in and feed and allow the water to penetrate into the roots deep down. So that's very advantageous for watering our fruit trees, because it allows us to do deep watering very efficiently. And additionally, during rain events, it allows us to capture water. And the other thing that we're doing along the inside of the berm is mulching. So chopping and dropping. And we've discussed chopping and dropping a lot on this on our lives, and why chopping and dropping is so beneficial. We're recycling all of our carbon, we're recycling all of our nitrogen, all of our other nutrients back to our food plants. And this allows us to run our garden a lot more efficiently, rely less on inputs, build soil over time in a very low effort way. And so this is our chop and drop zone and watering zone inside of this berm. Now on the outside of the berm, we can see a lot of plants coming up, and you might think these are weeds, but they're actually not. this is actually a perennial ground cover. And some of these are also perennial herbs and shrubs. Like, so for example, this right here is comfrey. And we have talked about biomass plants and support species in the past, and that's what all of these are pretty much, except for our strawberries right here. We're also going to be doing some edible plants under here. But the purpose of these plants is actually to build the soil, to produce biomass that we can chop and drop, and then drop into the drip line inside of the berm to feed the fig trees. So this is how we're weaning our trees off of fertilizer. We're growing plants to fertilize the trees, and I can talk about what is in this mix right here. So the base of the mix is a mix of a native perennial grass called California brome. This is a very, very hardy and also very non-invasive grass that you can cut back every month or two year-round. And so that's what you see most of coming up right here is this California brome grass. Additionally, we have some yarrow, and you can't really see the yarrow yet. It's a very small seeded plant. Some of these little guys in here are probably the yarrow. But yarrow is a perennial herb that is very, very good at accumulating nutrients, and it makes a great ground cover. And additionally, we have Dutch white clover. And like all clovers, Dutch white clover is able to fix nitrogen. We can see some clover seedlings coming up there. There's one. That's a clover seedling. And these three plants are perennial plants, which means that they will live and grow year after year after year after year. And that'll enable us to grow lots of green material that we can chop and drop and feed to the fruit trees and all the surrounding plants year after year after year after year. So this other one right here, comfrey, is another plant that is fantastic for chopping and dropping, and it has an extremely deep root system that mines minerals from up to 12 feet down in the soil profile. So this enables us to bring nutrients up to the top where all of the other plants can access it. Additionally, in this mix, we have some annual plants to help the area get established and to provide habitat for beneficial insects. And many of these are native plants too. We sowed in a lot of wildflowers. So for example, right here, you can see the arroyo lupine, which is one of the most common wildflowers around here. It is an annual legume, so annual nitrogen fixer. And then we have some California poppies right there. California poppies are great to include too, and of course they're the state flower. They also have a very deep root system. They are perennial, so they'll stick around for a while. Then we have some flax. Flax right here is very, very good at building mycorrhizae in the soil. That is the beneficial fungus that actually builds the physical structure of soil. And then we have a lot of other wildflowers and stuff scattered in here. So the idea is the annuals are mostly going to be around the first year. Some of them are going to reseed. They're going to produce lots of flowers to attract plenty of beneficial insects, so that we're able to completely, again, displace the use of pesticides and rather instead employ the ecosystem around us to control pests on all of the plants here, including the fig trees. Then the comfrey is a mulch producer. Comfrey is very good at producing high volumes of green manure, very high volumes of green manure. And since we have a lot of plants that we're going to be using for green manure here, we're going to have a diversity of different kinds of green manure, and that are able to sequester different nutrients into the soil and feed different kinds of microbes and fungi in the soil, which is very beneficial and just creates a stronger ecosystem. So as we can see, what I'm getting at is this whole area is going to start functioning like an ecosystem. We're going to have our green manure plants, our perennial cover crops to keep the soil covered and continue improving soil health over time. And then we're going to have some food crops that do very well underneath the fruit trees, such as strawberries, for example. Strawberries form a ground cover, they're going to be able to they're going to enable us to get another yield out of this area. We have some other things that we're planting. So society garlic, for example, we're going to be introducing that, or maybe garlic chives, perennial allium. It's going to attract tons of beneficial insects. It's an edible herb. And we're also going to be doing some plants that produce edible fruit. Like, for example, I have planned to introduce some Peruvian goldenberry, which is going to be going right here. You can see that says Physalis peruviana. And then we're going to have some greens, such as wild rocket and mantina, some perennial greens. So we'll be able to harvest multiple different kinds of fruits, herbs, and greens out of this whole situation right here, which is going to be fantastic. We're going to be constructing an ecosystem that produces food and that sustains itself. That's the whole idea here. That's what the purpose of a plant guild is. Do you guys have any questions? You guys learned all this. we went over all this in the Healthy Growers training. The Healthy Growers training, which is going to be offered online soon. So stay tuned for the Healthy Growers training. If you want to learn about gardening, if you want to learn about all this stuff, it's going to be included in the Healthy Growers training. So stay tuned for that. And our fig trees are good to go. So yeah, we're establishing these guilds around the fig trees. And as they begin to develop, what's going to happen is these perennial plants like the comfrey and the strawberries are going to begin out-competing and smothering a lot of our cover crop right here. And so over time, they're going to spread, and the cover crop is only really going to exist in patches here and there. And we can harvest those patches for green manure. And we're going to allow it to self-seed. So again, we get wildflowers coming up in the area for our beneficial insects and pollinators every single year. So it's a very wild way to garden, but oftentimes, you know, when you're relying on nature rather than your own labor and inputs, you get a healthier garden ecosystem that produces more food with less work. All right, you guys ready for the jujube tree?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. So we're definitely gonna need the pole saw for this. So jujube tree. Jujubes are a fantastic tree to grow in our climate. So fig trees are great. Fig trees are native to a Mediterranean climate, like the climate that we have here. So great choice. Jujubes are native to the semi-arid parts of Eastern Asia. So another great choice. They do fantastic here. They also do great in desert regions. And the fruit are quite delicious. So we're gonna set up right here. This is our jujube tree. And again, you can see that the jujube tree is deciduous. This lighting is horrible here. I'm gonna come around to this side. Check out our broccoli.
I can take the pulse off if you want to use
Yeah.
it for the camera.
Thank you. Yeah, we didn't really do a garden walkthrough this time, so we'll do that at the end. So stick around for the garden walkthrough. Everything has been looking great since winter break. So we'll show you guys that after we're done with the jujube tree here. And we are going to be reestablishing some of the guilds around these trees too. The jujube guild didn't really take off since it's so shady around here, so we're going to select a couple different plants for that are able to tolerate shade better. But we'll check out some of the other more established guilds around our other fruit trees in this area as well. So I'm going to back this camera up a little bit. That is much better. Now we can see. All right, cool. So you guys remember what we talked about as far as pruning goes. This is what my grandpa likes to do, and he is a very seasoned gardener. He loves his fruit trees. He likes to take like a big stick and point at what needs to come off. So this is we want to take out this one right here because it's growing too far out and it can become a hazard. Jujube trees are very thorny, so we don't want any branches sitting close to where people may be walking. Yeah, cut as close to the junction as you possibly can. Perfect. Let's move that underneath the tree. We're going to be chopping and dropping as well. If you have lots of fruit trees, it's very worthwhile to invest in a wood chipper. That's what I chose to do, and so we'll be using a wood chipper to break these down. Right there. And that will not be on the live. That thing is way too loud. It's going to be really annoying to hear that over the camera, so we're not going to do that on the live.
You got it.
So we're making some thinning cuts right here to remove branches that are not growing in a direction that's desirable for us. So again, thinning cuts are to remove entire branches that are not growing in a desirable direction, and heading cuts are to top off branches to induce side shoots. So I would say let's take this one. We might need the full saw for that because this one is growing inwards and crossing with other branches.
Yeah, actually, let me see the lopper.
Think you can grab it, Joe?
Yeah. Point at it?
Right here.
Right here?
That one.
Okay.
And see a heading cut was made there a while ago? And side shoots came out? Yeah, be careful with those. And this one is growing inwards in the canopy, so we're going to take this one out too. Also, as well as a smaller one next to it. Yeah, very careful. If you want, you can go ahead and get gloves.
Yeah. Yeah, can you grab it from both? That's one. Yeah.
I can feel those thorns.
The one next to it as well?
Yeah, the small one next to it. Thank you, Nelly. I'm going to check and see if we've got any questions. Yeah, I love jujubes. They come in for us September and October. Oh, you're going to be volunteering. Awesome. Well, we're going to be pleased to have you, Olivia. All right, cool. I don't need gloves, I'm tough.
Ready?
Yep. So let's take out this one back here. See if you can reach from there.
Over here?
Yeah, that one right there.
read.
It's throwing in a strange direction. We're gonna need to come around this way anyways. Most of the ones on the inside we are good on, so point one more time. Right here. This one that's kind of like growing down.
Yep, got it.
And so all of these prunings that we're taking off, once we chip them up and leave them underneath the tree, they're gonna build the soil. So the way that you build soil is by adding carbon to it, because carbon is actually what makes soil at the end of the day. You have dirt, which is a dead material essentially composed of minerals with varying particle sizes, and then you have soil, which is where you introduce life, which is where you introduce carbon-based material. So as we prune the fruit tree, let's take this one off of there, actually. Maybe a bit further up.
This one I need to do.
The full stock? Yeah, let's not worry about it now then.
Yeah, let me see real quick.
Yeah, maybe you can grab it.
Point one more time.
So I would say above that branch, take that off, and we'll do some topping too.
Right here.
Yeah, because this jujube tree is, I think we can top it. Just leave that there for now. We'll get it. Yeah, let's take off this little sucker right here. And so suckers are shoots that are side shoots that grow out of old wood, and they're generally very weak shoots that tend to steal energy.
Right,
yeah, right. No, not the whole one. That little guy, little twig.
Oh, this one right here.
Yeah, that whole big branch right there is great. We'll leave it. And then the other one on the other side too. So yeah, suckers are shoots that grow out of old wood, and they generally are not very vigorous, and they steal energy from other shoots in the tree that we want to favor. So we do not want to leave the suckers on.
Double check.
Perfect. There are a couple suckers on here that we can take off too. So there we go. That area is already starting to look nice and clean. And a couple of these shoots right here. Just take it up as far as you think you should take it. So we're taking off those inner shoots right now. I'm going to bring the camera around. It's kind of hard with this lighting. The sun is streaming through the big tepu tree right there. All right, there we are. Okay, this area is starting to look pretty good. Now that I'm over here, I can see right here there's some very unhealthy growth right there. So let's take off all of these little twigs, and then this larger one right there, and then that one.
Okay. Everybody be careful. The falling debris.
Yep.
These three right here, the whole thing?
Yep, those three. Just be careful when you're doing it that way.
Trying not to.
Yep. You're good. There you go. There you go.
Careful.
So let's take off everything below here,
Gotcha.
because those are all suckers. You can see that they're weak and spindly. Those are suckers. And we'll come in later and do some detail work because we don't have enough time to like do the entire thing necessarily. So I think we're going to start moving on to the other area of the tree on the other side in a moment.
Okay. One more right here.
Yeah, you can take that.
Okay.
And then also take this.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Looking nice and clean now in here. This jujube tree is going to be so happy with us. Now, the thing about jujubes is that they love to send out side shoots that come up several feet away, so they actually are quite invasive and tend to spread. So if you're planting a jujube tree, just keep that in mind and keep it away from other things from other things that you're trying to grow, I would say. Jujube trees do better when they're like solitary. So, and we can see they're pretty far away from our citrus trees, and that's what we want to do. Anywho, let's come over here. We're going to start working on this area a bit more. Any questions? Once again, feel free to drop them in the chat. They're looking great so far. You have a turn in, Nelly? Sounds like a plan. Alright, so right here, let's take that. Because this is growing inwards towards the canopy. Just right there at the junction. I could probably take it a bit closer next time, but that's okay. We can get it with the bypass pruners later. This one is growing funky and inwards and is colliding with those other branches. So let's take this one right here and the suckers that are next to it. Yeah, that little sucker right there. Yeah, here, this whole thing right here. I'm at a better angle, I can get it.
Yeah, alright.
So, again, try and look at where the junction is and come from underneath. That's a great way to do it, and then cut. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, these ones look kind of weak. We can keep this main one right here.
Hold on.
Yeah, we can.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Careful.
And I'm gonna take this. All right. You want to switch spots with me, Nelly? Sure. I'll pick up the stick again. All right. So this whole one right here is growing downwards, and it's going to become a hazard right there at the junction. Yep, there you go. Perfect. Perfect angle. There you got it. All right. These suckers that are in here, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. And that one that's on the other side right there. And jujube trees can be quite prolific too. They're also called Chinese dates. I do like to eat them fresh out of hand, but some people will make them into like jams or dry them, much like dates. Little guy right there. We can go into the bypass pruners later.
Yeah.
And then there's this one. See, this is a situation where we have two branches. This one is weaker, and this one's stronger, and they're kind of growing parallel to each other and colliding, so we'll take the weaker one right there.
Very nice.
Let's take a couple of these suckers. I'd say on these two branches both go up like 3 or 4 suckers each, 3 or 4 of these side shoots. Those ones are not really suckers, but wow, it's windy today.
Yes, it is.
I'm afraid that all the leaf mulch that we put down at lab school on Monday is going to blow away. Thankfully, they have tons of more leaves there. We can just make more. You got it? Let's go up as far as you can safely reach, I'd say. I'll come in and do some detail work later.
If you need a break or need to switch, just let me know.
Yeah, after this, I'm going to come in with the pole saw and do the topping.
Okay, let me grab the pole saw. Oh, it's over there.
Yeah.
Okay, no, okay.
Alright. So for this, I do not need the saw attachment. We're going to use the loppers. And can someone move the camera, please? Camera crew, please. So the cool thing about these is they can actually extend. So this actually goes to 14 feet. Get it close now. There we go. Okay. So now I can very easily reach up there, pull this to engage the locker. So we're going to go up there. We're going to top this one. I can see where it was topped last year. So we'll top it a bit up here. Very, very useful.
You got it.
It didn't catch. I'm at a weird angle. I need to come over here.
All right, re-angle.
Sometimes it helps to like pull on the branch just a little bit.
There you go. Careful.
Yeah. Timber. I actually want to take this one back a bit more. Never mind. And that's because it's unbalanced now. We want to keep the tree balanced. There we go. That's perfect. So this one, take it back to about here. Oh, sorry about that.
You're good. You're good. Nice little on-camera scare.
Yeah. This one.
Nice.
We'll get that later.
We can get it later, yeah.
This one. This one's starting to get all crazy looking at the top. So we'll cut it to where it still looks healthy, which is about here. Alright. I think this tree is done. So, just a tip. Generally speaking, branches that are very upright are not going to produce fruit. They're going to produce vegetative growth. So when we top them, what we're doing, when we're inducing those side shoots, is we're inducing the formation of productive branches. So once branches lean lower than 60 degrees, that's generally when flowering and fruiting is induced. So with all these side shoots now, we're going to get a better harvest this year, hopefully, and the years to come. Ooh, I'm seeing a situation I don't like that much now. I think we may want to take off this big one at some point. But not yet. I'm going to consider that. I'm going to take off a few more of these weak ones here. And I think we're going to call it for now. Alright, so let's get a view of the whole tree now that it's nice and cleaned up.
So let me back up.
We're going to remove our pole saw. And always when you're done with the pole saw, unscrew the blade and put it back into its folded position so that you don't injure anybody, or so you don't injure yourself while you're handling it. All right. Looking good.
Much cleaner now. Much cleaner.
Okay. Let's do a quick walk around the garden. We're gonna, thank you, Joe. So let's talk about what's growing on here. So this is our native plant area that we established in a previous live. So check out the native plants. This is our California buckwheat. We have a lot of our flowers coming in here. This one looks like a collinsia or a purple innocence. We have tons of clarkias. We have a couple lupines. The black sage has been going crazy. The white sage over here is finally starting to take off, which is fantastic. There's our white sage. I've been trying to get some showy penstemons to germinate here, but with no luck. Then we have the elderberry. Looks like we have a bit of an aphid issue on the elderberry, so we'll figure out what to do about that. The deer weeds did not really come up, but generally speaking, the wildflowers and grasses have been a huge success. These are our needle grasses right here, our stipas. Lots of clarkias. We can see they're probably starting to think about blooming soon. We have some gilias that are going to probably start popping off very shortly. Just lots of stuff in general coming up. Our thistles are taking their time. I'm not sure how good the cobweb thistles are going to do, but we'll see. You know, all of this is an experiment, you know, designing a native plant area this way to incorporate succession dynamics. That is doing annual and perennial grasses and wildflowers around our native shrubs that will slowly work their way out of the system and be succeeded by the native shrubs as time goes on. And then we can reset the system by then cutting back the shrubs, opening up opportunities for these wildflowers and grasses to come back. So yeah, this bed looks great. This is one of our perennial beds. The Mexican sunflower has been growing again thanks to the warmer weather. We've been harvesting it for green manure to feed some of the other beds. The sorrel, as always, looks fantastic. This pigeon pea is looking good. Sugarcane is looking great. It is sugarcane harvest season, so we may think about harvesting sugarcane soon. There's Joe tightening the bolt up again. Perfect. These are the peas that we planted in a previous live, and Nellie and I. They're looking great. The cauliflower and celery hasn't really taken off, but that's okay. Some of the celery over here is starting to do good, but again, this is just a placeholder until the mint comes back. And so the peas are going to be fixing nitrogen into the soil for us. That's going to give the mint a nice boost come springtime. So additionally over here, we have some Romanesco broccoli that is just starting to go off right there. You can kind of see it. It's hard to see with the lighting. It's in there. My phone's auto adjust is not great. Parsley is looking good. Starting to put out some new growth now that we're getting more sunlight. Some purple cabbage. And that's been the issue for us. It's really the lack of sunlight this time of year. The lettuce really does not seem to mind it. The lettuce looks incredible. Absolutely incredible. We're going to be beginning with the lettuce harvest next Monday, actually. The arugula has been doing pretty great too. Again, we're going to be harvesting the arugula next Monday as well. We have some more arugula coming up. And then in the summertime, we're going to have a sunchoke-based polyculture system in here. And yeah, everything else looks great. And believe it or not, we're actually still getting cherry tomatoes right now. Still getting cherry tomatoes from these Matt's Wild Cherries right here. Absolutely unbelievable. I have never seen a tomato that produces all year round, but this is it. I mean, we're not getting that much right now, but check this out. Check out these cherry tomatoes. Matt's Wild Cherry right here. And this reseeds itself very easily. This is actually, again, a wild variety of tomato. This is a land race, which means that this variety was actually collected from a wild population. So let's try it. How do they taste? How do tomatoes in February taste? Surprisingly sweet. They're actually very good. Almost like in summer. And I'm definitely very astounded by this. I can't believe that these tomatoes are still productive and they're tasting good. I mean, look at how much they're growing. Pretty incredible. So this is our lemongrass bed. We cut back the lemongrass. We are going to be probably taking out one of these and putting a papaya here. So that's very interesting. And it'll be really exciting to have papayas in the wellness garden. These beds are doing great. Cabbage is really starting to fill out. We've got some cilantro and fenugreek in here as well. Looking good, looking good. We're running some cover crops over here still. We're going to be talking about cover crops more in a future episode. The hydroponic tower system looks fantastic. Right here, we have some mosh, we have some dill, some mugwort, some scotch kale, and some minutina. Minutina is a fantastic and very easy to grow green. And then over here, let's take a look at our aquaponic hydroponic research systems. Yeah, this dino kale is just really taking off. It looks amazing. Looks absolutely amazing. So we talked about aquaponics and hydroponics in the last live, I believe. Here is the hydroponic kale. So again, this is growing off of fish waste from our watery friends down in here. And then this is just growing off of chemical fertilizers. And then we have our organic soil plot for comparison right here. And you can see the difference. The aquaponic hydroponic kale is much larger. Did fertilize these guys recently, and they responded very well to it, but they're still not doing as great as these, so pretty awesome. All right, let's check the time. 10:15. We can wrap it up a bit early. I think that we covered everything that we wanted to cover. So see you guys later.
Bye.
See you next week, 9:30 sharp. We are going to be talking about making leaf mold compost, which is another great thing you can do for your fruit trees, starting in the fall and going through the winter. So stay tuned for that. And once again, also stay tuned for the Healthy Growers training that is going to be offered online. And don't forget to check out the Ask a Master Gardener feature on the Maryland Magrum Center website if you have any questions about your garden. See you later, everyone. Have a good one.